Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, writers, scientists, educators, social scientists, government leaders. We speak to each one to one. I'm delighted to welcome the multi-talented Dena Hammerstein to the program today. She's been an actress, a writer, producer, and a philanthropist, and all her life and careers have culminated in Only Make Believe, an organization that encourages the creative spirit in children who are dealing with the awful reality of long-term hospitalization. Welcome.
Thank you, Sheryl.
Before we talk about Only Make Believe, let's talk about your roots, which are very interesting. Your parents were refugees from the Nazis who wound up in England.
Yeah.
And you were born there.
Yes.
And were sent to an orphanage when you were just 10 days old.
That's right.
What was it like? I mean, why did they choose to do that? And what was it like?
I think they thought it was most probably the best option. I think they were very new to England, very new to that environment, and I think rather overwhelmed, and it seemed most probably the best opportunity for me, actually, and I suppose it allowed me to grow up English, which I don't know if, when I did go to live with them when I was about 11, I mean, they obviously spoke English with sort of broken accents and things.
They were from Germany and Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, so who knows if I'd lived with them all my life, what kind of accent one would have. But anyway, those were the beginnings.
So this was an orphanage for Jewish children.
Yes.
Where was it exactly?
It was in Essex, which is a sort of a suburb of London.
Okay, okay. Now, at this time, with what year was the war on, or
Yeah,
at that
I was
particular
born during
time?
the war, yeah.
Did you, as a child at a Jewish orphanage, did you have any sense of being in danger or under threat because you were Jewish, or was that something that was not in your consciousness?
I don't think one is aware of things like that as a child. Equally, I think the resilience of children is just the ability to accept the realities that they're in. And quite frankly, I didn't think it was unusual to live in an institution. I assumed every child did. I mean, I remember the shock of being told that children actually lived with their parents, because I didn't. I assumed no other kids did. So I don't know whether that sort of made me very empathetic to sort of kids in hospital or in long-term care, but and how they make the best of their situations. But certainly there's obviously a thread that runs very deep.
Right, but the orphanage was a good experience for you, right?
The woman who ran the orphanage was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and I know it's ridiculous, but one calls her matron, but she's someone that I think was a credit to the human race. She was really an exceptional person.
How many children were there?
I don't know. I would say 70 to 100.
Okay.
But I do think that she made us all feel extremely important and special, and that was certainly a gift to be able to give to these children.
What was it like when being reunited with your parents when you were 11?
That was actually pretty horrifying. And
Why?
It was because I wasn't used to it. They weren't used to it. And it was a very, very difficult adjustment, actually.
So how did you first become interested in the theater?
I guess the first time I saw theater, it was a magical experience, and one realized it was an escape. And I think that the attraction of escaping reality was just extremely vital.
How old were you at the time, and what was the play? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember the play at all. I think it was a musical. I remember being taken from the orphanage to see it, and I remember that from then on, my life changed. That's all I wanted to do, was be part of that world, yeah.
Did you get a chance to do that while you were at the orphanage?
No.
Okay, so you're back with your parents. you leave home at age 17. Why did you leave and where did you go?
Well, ran away to join the circus? No, not quite, but certainly wanted to be independent, wanted to be an actress, wanted to do, I wasn't particularly happy living with my parents at that time, so it seemed the best move. And I started off by training to be an actress, which was involved in those days, and I don't know if it still exists, but to become a member of Equity, which is the trade union for actors, to get the amount of credibility to be able to do that. We used to do things like school tours, where there would be 4 of you and you'd visit different schools in the morning or afternoon and do adaptations of fairy tales, and from there you got credited to become a full member of Equity.
And how old were you when you got your card?
About 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your early career as an actress like? Were you in London?
I was very lucky because my early career coincided with the kind of docudrama that England became very popular. So I was in quite a few shows that sort of showed working class life in London that caused quite a lot of, got a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. So it was, I had a very lucky start to my career. I started to do a lot of work for the BBC series and, individual plays, etc. And so I was okay.
And nobody does regular people better than the BBC, I think.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they?
They do it really well.
Yeah.
So did you also do any stage acting?
Yes, I did. And then the thing about living in London as opposed to sort of New York and California is London actually is the center not only for TV and film and stage. So all 3 are in, basically you can do all 3 within the sort of same city, which is very different over here.
Right. Hollywood in New York.
Yeah. So it's you're much more able to do a play and a TV and then a few days on a film in England, I found, than when I came here.
So at some point you met director Michael Bennett.
I did.
How did you meet him?
I was introduced to him on the day they landed on the moon. And I actually felt that Michael changed my life so much that not only had they walked on the moon, he'd most probably walked on my moon too. And Michael had realized I'd never been to New York and wanted me to come over and stay with him. So I did.
Now, did you meet him at a play or socially?
Socially. Friends, American actors in London.
So he invited you to come for a 3-week visit to New York?
He was in England choreographing Promises at the time, which was just done here recently, the revival.
So the idea was just to expose you to New York City?
Yeah.
And did you feel at home in New York right away?
It was a romantic love affair. The minute you got off the plane, it was just an amazing experience. America and New York felt so free. People were, it seemed to me, able to be themselves completely in every regard, and I found this extremely attractive. And of course, Michael showed me a very privileged New York. When I was staying with him, he was working at the time, the beginning stages of Company. So each day, Steve Sondheim, Hal Prince, Bobby Avian would ring the doorbell and come round to work. And then he'd take me on all his sort of auditions, etc. So it was a pretty, an amazing 3 weeks.
And how old were you at the time?
In my mid-20s.
Wow.
And then he introduced me to the man I married, so.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
You met James Hammerstein, Oscar Hammerstein's son. Did you meet him socially, or did you meet him in the course of work? You met him socially?
Yeah.
Okay.
An introduction through Michael.
And he was he directing plays, producing plays at that time?
He was directing plays and musicals at that time.
So you didn't go back to England?
Back and forth, actually.
So tell me about, how soon after you met did you get married?
Within a couple of years.
Oh, okay. And Tell me about your acting career in New York.
Well, my acting career in New York has been somewhat limited because, as you can tell, after 40 years in this country, I still have not got the ability to do an American accent.
Is it hard doing an American accent?
Very, for me.
I would think, because it's kind of subtle. A British accent is very distinct, but American accent is pretty subtle.
I don't know what it is. I guess it's because when I met Jamie, he had children already from earlier marriage, and they most probably took the mickey out of my attempts at an American accent, so I gave up pretty quickly. I just don't feel it sounds quite right in my mouth. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But yet when I'm in London now, people assume I'm American, mm-hmm. so it's...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you do any acting at all? I mean, were you
Yes.
involved in the theater at all when you got here? What kinds of stuff were you doing?
I did plays on Broadway, English plays, and plays around theatres across the country.
Did being married to a director and the son of Oscar Hammerstein help you in your career, do you think? I know that people say, oh, no, it didn't.
Don't think so, actually.
Really?
No, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I'd been in musical comedy, it might have.
Okay.
But as that wasn't the case, I don't think so, no.
Did you and your husband collaborate on any
We did.
work?
We did. He directed me, and I produced later on in our marriage a play that he directed, things like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what led you to want to take theater to sick children? How did that happen?
It wasn't an idea that I realized straight away. I'd become involved in volunteer work in New York, working at GMHC in the...
Men's Health Crisis?
Yeah, in the Child Life Program, and working as a volunteer at the Rusk Institute. And I was very taken with the work and with the children. And because of obviously my interest, I'd set up programs to take the kids to theatre. And although it was very exciting for the children, on a lot of occasions it was also extremely overwhelming. And
just logistically.
The logistics, yeah. I mean, you take a kid and in a wheelchair, and you get them in the bus, et cetera, and then you get them to Times Square on a matinee in the middle of that sort of neon and people.
Right.
And it's overwhelming for anybody. And so often I'd feel that it was, although it was a wonderful experience, it was exhausting for some of these kids. So there was the idea, I guess, then, well, if we can't take the kids to the theatre, why not bring the theatre to the kids? Because I'd seen the effect that the theatre had on these children, which was similar to the same effect it had on me. And one wants to give it to as many children as possible, the magic of imagination, escape, laughter, joy.
And we're going to follow up on that after our short break. We'll be back with more with Dena Hammerstein, founder of Only Make Believe, after the following messages.
Secondhand smoke kids breathe in smoke that can have as much nicotine and carbon monoxide as what's inhaled by a smoker. About half of secondhand smoke kids have cancer-causing chemicals in their bodies. They suffer more frequent and severe asthma attacks, and some studies even show a link to learning problems. Don't raise a secondhand smoke kid. Quit smoking today. For help, call 311.
Los niños fumadores pasivos respiran humo que puede contener tanta nicotina y monóxido de carbono como lo que es inhalado por un fumador. No críe un niño fumador pasivo. Deje de fumar hoy. Para obtener ayuda, llame al 311.
Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Dena Hammerstein, the founder of Only Make Believe, an organization that brings out the creative spirit in children living in hospitals and other institutions. So, your original mission was to bring the magic of the theater to these sick children. Has the mission changed at all? I'm sure that's still your mission, but has it evolved, and what you do, has it changed from the beginnings of your organization?
Oh yes, it's changed, and continues to change. That's what's so exciting about the organization, is that obviously you learn from what you do, and we were very fortunate to be able to sort of try it out and get the program working on its feet, rather than going in with a too specific. One went in with a general idea and it wasn't that specific, but now it's actually been worked out and is, I think, a very successful program for these children.
So describe how it works.
How it works is that we send a team of actors, and the teams consist of 3 actors with specially written plays for these children. They go into the hospital unit with a trunk full of costumes and props for the children to wear, and a backdrop for them to act in front of. They then perform a play which takes about an hour. These plays are written with the opportunity for all the children to participate in the plays, playing parts and actual call and response and physical participation. And the shows are complete in themselves. There's a specially written song at the beginning and at the end of the show that was written for us for Only Make Believe. And it's an hour where the children just thoroughly escape and enjoy themselves.
Now, I was looking at your schedule on your website, and there seems to be a performance going on almost daily at one hospital or another. How many hospitals or institutions are you in right now?
I think we're in 43 or 44 at the moment. And our aim is to be in 50 by the end of 2012.
Wow. And are these all in the New York City area?
They're all in the boroughs, yeah.
How many actors do you have working for you, and where do they come from?
We have about 15 to 18 regular actors, and they come from all walks of the profession. They're professional actors, and some of them have had training in educational theatre, but most of them just come and audition. Either they've heard of the organisation through other actors, or we advertise in the normal way, backstage, etc. And they are the core and heart of our organisation.
And you said how many are involved right now? How many actors?
About 15 to 18.
Okay. Now, are they paid or are they volunteers?
Oh, they're paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a charity for the children, not for the actors. And we want the actors to be of the highest standard and commit themselves in the proper way and treat the job, properly. So
Are most of them people who aspire to professional careers as actors?
I would say most of them have professional careers, and a lot of them leave us to go off and do gigs and then come back. And yes, they're all quite active in the profession.
So who writes and directs these performances?
Well, in the beginning, I did quite a bit of the script writing myself. We now have some of our actors also have contributed some of the scripts, and our managing director and our creative director, they run the program, and the creative director will run the rehearsals. I get as much involved as I possibly can, but they're pretty self-sufficient now. And
you have volunteers who are not actors. How many of those do you have, and what do they do?
Well, we have a wide variety of volunteers, and we're always looking for volunteers. So anybody who's interested, please contact the organization. A lot of them create the costumes and the props that we give to the kids and that we use in the show. A lot of them become buddies, and they actually support the children during the program and sit with them each week during the show, and then stay after we try to end each series of 6 plays with a party for the kids.
So you would have a series of 6 plays at each institution?
Yes, and then the 7th week we do the best of Only Make Believe and give the kids a pizza party, and then volunteers can come and help us do that.
Now, your audience, do these tend to be children? Are they just sort of the children that you find in that institution when you go there, or are these children who are there for a long term, children who are hospitalized over a long period of time, and so they see you coming back and back, or is it a...
That's true, and they do. And sometimes we see children who've been sort of from one of the hospitals we're in transferred to another, or we see our actors see the children sometimes for a number of years, and build up a huge sort of rapport with them.
So it's interactive.
Yes.
The children are actually actors in the play,
Yes.
and I guess ones who can't do that would sing along or whatever.
Absolutely, and our actors are extremely imaginative, and getting them to participate, even if it's blinking an eye or whatever it is, that they'll get the kids to actually get involved.
Do your plays try to address the kinds of issues that sick children are dealing with specifically, or do they just try to, or are they just great plays, great stories?
They're feel-good stories. Whether they all have a sort of little message, one finds that you didn't actually start writing them to have a message, but some of them you find that do, which will be like not to overcome fear. Say we've got a story about somebody who's scared of the dark, and whether that's applicable to the children or not, but it does show you how the kid overcomes it. And so, but it's not sort of hammered home in that way. We just want to tell fun stories and give you a good time. If you can take a message from it that's going to help, well, that's a really added bonus.
Now, you mentioned the song at the beginning. Is music a big part of it?
Yes, yes. And I rely on our much younger members of the company to provide the soundtracks for the shows and the beats and the fun. And we also have an intermission in the show where we encourage the kids to get up and do a dance and show us their moves, etc. So, yes, we try to make it as active as possible.
So what, I was actually looking at some of the responses, from the hospitals that you visited, which were very positive. How did the children respond to what you do?
Well, to see children who, at the beginning, who might be sort of shy and unhappy, to watch a child transformed after the first week or second or third into someone who's happy and laughing and sharing with the other kids on the unit is a very extremely rewarding. So I think it's, I would say, a positive experience for the children and for their families, and even for the staff in the hospital who get to see the kids laughing and having a good time. Sometimes I'll be walking down a corridor and I'll hear laughter and singing coming out of a unit, and your footsteps hurry towards the party. Well, you don't feel going into a hospital unit that your footsteps are going to hurry in that kind of way. So it's extremely gratifying.
Where does the funding for the program come from?
The funding comes from a variety of sources. We do a gala every year, which we're very fortunate to be able to rely on quite a few famous stars who've participated, and so that's attracted.
Now, did I read that Ian Mckellen was involved in your recent fundraiser?
Ian Mckellen is on our honorary board and is a very good and close friend, and he's hosted 3 of our galas now, including the last 2 when we've been on Broadway. So, thanks, Ian. And we also apply for grants and donations, etc. And but as you know, in this economy, raising money is never easy.
Right.
So anybody who wants to support us, we're open to you coming on.
So people who want to work with you, I mean, is there a website that they could go to, or how should they approach you?
They should go to onlymakebelieve.org and look at our website, and I'm sure that Marisha Miles and Lauren, our managing director and our development director, will show them all the opportunities they can to help. We have been chosen to be one of the charities on the 5-borough bike ride that's happening in May this year. So I would encourage anybody who'd like to ride in that to support Only Make Believe. That would be great.
And you're also involved in addition to Only Make Believe, you're still involved in the theater as a producer?
Yeah.
What are you working on that you want to tell us about?
It might be a bit premature. There are couple of musicals that we're involved with, and one of them is very ready for a production. So I'm excited to feel that that will be the next show that I'll be involved with.
Okay. And in terms of goals for the future of the program, you said you want to expand to 55 institutions. Any other goals? Just keep bringing the theater to young people who are sick?
Absolutely, and our goals are to also to reach beyond New York. We're hoping to trial Only Make Believe in DC this year, and then take it from New York and beyond.
Okay. Take it on the road.
Absolutely.
We're out of time. I want to thank Dena Hammerstein for joining us today. If you'd like more information on her Only Make Believe Foundation, log on to the organization's website at onlymakebelieve.org. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Sheryl McCarthy.